So other method to find out the undisclosed income is, that is basically second method is net wealth reconciliation method. This is something like if I tell you the simple logic, I'll explain this way. As accountant, I think you must be able to easily understand also. Let's say in a day, give a simple example. Say, the morning you had a 10 morning, and in the evening. The morning you had 10,000 rupees, let's say. In the evening you had 15,000 rupees. So how much of income you earned during the year? Yeah, one is the increase of this amount. Increase. But not only that. Plus how much you expended during the year. Let's say you expended during the year, let's say 8,000. In that case, your total receipt should be how much? 13,000. Now you have to see whether out of 13,000 how much you explain. If you are explained or if you disclosed. Let's say 7,000 you explained. Then what will happen? Unexplained is undisclosed income. Simple logic, no? So what are the variables that you have in that case? One is money had at the beginning, money had at the end, how much you expended during the year, how much you have shown. You got to reconcile those figures and to find out the undisclosed. So even in the individual tax for the year of first month also same rule will apply. What is that? Take your net asset at the beginning and net asset at the end of the year of first month. Net asset means gross asset minus liability. Your wealth, net wealth at the beginning of the year of first month, net wealth at the end of the year of first month. Look at how much your increase of net wealth that you must be able to support with the income, plus how much your personal expense during the year. You add up, this is the total receipt. So then the assessor will go through and see in the return how much you are disclosed. If you not disclose anything, problem. Full amount is problem. But disclose the whole thing, no problem. But you disclose the half, the balance gap is considered to be undisclosed income. Then in short, you have to work out the net asset at the beginning of the year of assessment, net asset at the end of the year of assessment. Take the difference, add up the personal expenses, get the total gross receipt, minus how much you are disclosed, the balance is my undisclosed income. Technically, net wealth of an individual is equivalent to the total gross value of the asset less total value of the liability at the particular date. Total asset may include land and buildings, motor vehicles, loan or advances given, household effects, investment in form of shares, capital in the business, disposal with the sorry, deposit with the banks and financial institution, etc. Those are gross assets. Even a personal investment shares, personal investment in your business, proprietorship business or partnership business are total gross investment. Total borrowing may include bank loan, overdraft and other personal loans. So gross asset minus borrowing are net asset. Under this method, the net wealth at the end of the year of assessment is compared with the net wealth at the beginning of the year of assessment, and difference is to be reconciled with total receipt. If there is an increase in the net wealth during the year of assessment, it should be supported by the total receipt after deducting living expenses. If the amount is not reconciled, the difference should be questioned by the revenue officers to ascertain the undisclosed income. Under this method, the undisclosed income could be ascertained as follows in relation to the year of assessment 1920. Take your net or net asset as at 31st March 2020. Net asset at the end of the year of assessment minus net asset at the beginning of the year of assessment, increase in net asset plus personal expenses, total receipt, less income and receipt explained, unexplained receipts. So I give about 5 minutes. Can you go through this sum, please? Question number 3. Okay. Now what I do is here, you go through the answers also. You go through the answers. When you are getting this sort of question, what do? First of all, you have to keep the space. Depending on the size of the question, keep the space. How do you work out the net asset at the beginning and end? You look at the answer. Starting from page number 41. I worked out the first gross asset, opening and closing. 1st April 2019, 31st March 2020. Less liability, 1st April 2019, 31st March 2020. That's net assets. Worked out separately. The separately add up the at personal income, underline that, personal income. Personal expenses. Personal expenses underline. Then less again, explanation for the increase, receipt. Underline that. These are the items I have given here. Net asset, gross asset at the beginning and end. Net liability at the beginning and end. That means gross minus liability. Net asset at the beginning and end. Personal expenses, income and receipts. So you have to concentrate on those 4 items. Okay. This is the first one. Gross asset minus liability, net asset at the end, net asset at the beginning, difference. So this item, these two are compared, and also personal expense you have to be concerned, and receipt which are disclosed. Keep on mind. So when I am doing the sum, when you read the sum, you have to plug into the relevant place. So Nardan, an engineer by profession, retired from the government service in December 2017 and started a consultant practice on January 1st, 2018. So 2 years before he retired, 1 year before he started the consultant service. All are the previous years, not the current year of assessment. He received a monthly pension of 75,000 from the date of retirement. So after retirement, he got a monthly pension. As far as 2019-20 is concerned, first part of the question is find out the net wealth. No. Compare the net wealth of undisclosed income. So how much is 75,000 for 12 months? 900,000. That should be the explanation. Look at the explanation. Pension 75,012, 900,000 I disclosed. Okay. That means one of the increase of 900,000 asset is increase of net asset for 900,000 you can easily explain as what? Because the pension of 900,000 we have received. Okay. Having carried on his practice at his residence, he shifted to a new office in May 2020. After the payment of a rent deposit of 250,000 in March 2020. The process of shifting, he lost most of his accounting records. That is the reason. Since they lost the accounting record, I got to work out some other different firm way to calculate the business income. That's what we are doing now based on net wealth reconciliation. But he made a rent deposit, 250,000, that is asset. At the end, gross asset, look at the asset. At the end, there's a rent deposit of 250,000, right? Opening 0, at the end, 250,000. Clear? You may assume that his monthly income remained the same throughout any particular financial year. He has maintained only one bank account into which he has deposited all receipt and all payments were made by check drawn on this account. Easy. All deposits are made in the one account. Payment also went through that account. So therefore, the one account is mainly operated. In March 2019, he had purchased a computer for 100,000. So here, the previous year, therefore, that amount 100,000 computer is there at the opening and closing both. Okay? Can you look at that? Yes. There either you can enter or you don't enter. It doesn't make a difference. Why? Because there won't be a change in increase in net asset due to this. But For a memorandum purpose, you can just record it for information purpose. During the year ended 31st March 2020, that is very concerned. During the year change, he purchased a new furniture for 320,000, which was delivered direct to the office in May 2020. So 320,000 new furniture increase as of 31st March 2020. In April 2019, 160,000 and for rupees 100, sorry. He has purchased a computer in April 2019 for 160,000 and received a printer worth 80,000 from his son, who is an accountant in Botswana, when he came home in July 2019 on a vacation. So there's a two increase of assets. One is computer 160,000 as of 31st March 2020. Can you look at? And printer again increase 80,000. But printer increase, of course, you can easily explain as what? And explanation you can say gift received 80,000. Is that given? Okay. Right. When his son came home in July 2019, he brought 3 million with him to purchase a building block for himself. He had left this money with his father, who has deposited this money in his father's bank account. So Nardan has still not been able to buy a suitable land, and the money is still lying in his bank account. Therefore, still, that means he has done the 3 million rupees deposited money. So that money is what? There could have been increase in bank account due to 3 million. That will account it later on the bank account balance. But that money is payable to son. So show it as a liability as of 31st March 2020. Is a liability there, 31st March 2020, 3 million rupees. That is one day is payable. So that is basically increase of money bank account is supported with the liability. No, there's no problem on that. Janardhan turnover for the year ended 31st March 2020 was 80,400,000. Turnover 80,400,000. It's personal point of view, business turnover. So from that you can find out what? Yeah, balance receivable. The monthly credit he gives. The 1 month debtors will be there. So 80,400,000 divided by 12. So 1 month with the element of VAT payable 15%. Let's assume the claims is liable for VAT throughout the period. 15% increase VAT. Debtors will be with the VAT 1,766,333. Okay. His total liability turnover for the year ended 31st March 2020 was 24 million. Again, divide by 12, multiply by 15, divide by 12, get the answer. 1 month data with the VAT, multiply by 12, increase by 15%. I'm sorry, 15% VAT. So it comes to 2,300,000. Nardan gives 1 month credit to his client. He charged with VAT at 15% and NBT at 2%. There is no significant input tax deducted against the output tax. VAT payable and NBT payable I have worked out. So VAT and NBT is payable monthly. Therefore, based on the turnover, 80,400,000 into 12 at 15%, 230,000 at the beginning and 300,000 at the end. It's a liability. Shown. VAT payable. NBT payable also on the monthly turnover I have worked out 2% NBT, 30,666 and 40,000 rupees shown as a liability. In respect to the year of FY 18-19, all 4 quarters of the income tax were paid on the due dates and amounting to 20,000, 200,000 per quarter. Per quarter. When he finalized his income tax return for the year FS 18-19, in November 2019, he found that he has overpaid his taxes. He received a refund of 38,000 in February 2020. So during the year, got a refund of 38,000. That is, you can say, one of the increase of net tax is due to what? The refund, tax refund received 38,000. That is shown as explanations. Tax refund received. In respect to the year of 1920, he paid all 4 quarters of income tax on the due dates, and payment for the first 4 quarters is 100,000 each. You have to got to find out not the quarterly tax paid for the year of assessment, how much of quarterly tax paid during the year of assessment 1920, cash basis. Look at the working. Yeah. You paid 4th quarter of 1890, 15 May 2019, 200,000. 1920, first 3 installments are falling within the same year of assessment 1920. 100,000 each, all to the 500,000. That is his personal expenses. Tax paid. Okay. In addition to the above mentioned liabilities, accrued expenses were as follows. Look at, show it as liability accrued expenses opening 108,000, closing 144,000. In February 2018, 2 years before, Mr. Nardan obtained a bank loan of 400,000 to purchase shares in a private company. I think a record shares 400,000 are not recorded, but doesn't make a difference because we can say opening and closing assets are 400,000. The bank balance on 31st March 2020 was 240,000. Closing balance bank loan 31st March 2020 240,000. During the year to 31st March 2020, he has paid 70,000 as capital and 30,000 as interest. 70,000 as capital. Either you can show 70,000 as a personal expenses, or without showing, you can record the liability, bank loan liability at the opening as 240,000 plus 70,000, 310,000. So bank loan opening liability 310,000, closing liability 240,000. The impact is same. But interest payment 30,000 you can show as a personal expenses. Okay. Here received the dividend of 68,800 from A Private Limited during the year. 68,800 explanation. One of the increase for the net asset is due to dividend to the amount of 68,800. Explanation. The bank balance as at 1st March 2009, March 31st 2019, 334,000. March 31st 2020, 4,556,000. Record the cash balance, bank balance opening and closing. So the closing balance is very high. Why? Because one of the reason is main reason 303 million rupees we already explained. There's a money given to son. That is shown as a liability, right? 300 million rupees. Yes, estimate is living expense of 500,000 per month. Expenses 500,000. That means total 6 million rupees. Right. So we are recorded the information into the chart. Now you add up. So we add up one by one. Look at the adaptation. Total gross assets at the beginning 2,597,333. At the end 8,166,000. Liability at the beginning 678,666. Liability at the end 3,724,000. Your net asset, total gross asset minus liability at the beginning 1,918,667. At the end 4,442,000. So increase in net asset 2,523,333. That is the increase. This one. This amount is what? 2,523,333. At personal expenses, three expenses are involved. Total 6,530,000. Add up that one. Then total comes to 9,053,333. This comes to 9,053,333. Then explanation given 1,086,800. Out of 9 million, only 1 million is explanation. Therefore, the undisclosed income is 7,966,533. That is actually not undisclosed. It's a CC losses records. It's a business income should be that amount. It's a tax profit or accounting profit. It's accounting profit. So the part 2 of the question. Compare this income tax business income for the year of assessment 1920. Look at the business income part 2. That is a plus and minus. Take the accounting profit 7,966,533. Nothing to add back. No depreciation, nothing given. Capital allowances, computer. Opening balance, we have 100,000 at 25%. The previous that we claimed 25%. New furniture 320,000 we are not claimed because why? Though you bought during the year, it has been installed in May 2020. It has not been used during the year of assessment. So if you are not used during the year of assessment, you are not entitled to claim capital allowance as per section 16. Computer we are claimed under 60,000 5 years. Printer we are claimed 80,000 over 5 years. So they have the income from business come to 7,893,533. The gift, printer gift. I have taken up this one. So the gift amount is a explanations. But I have taken up the is a capital allowance. We are on our the asset. We claim depreciation over 5 years period. The part 3 income tax payable by Mr. Narden for the year of assessment 1920. So now this is a tax. Again, income from business only saw 7,893,533. Adjusted for it from the business. Income from employment, pension, 100% tax free. Investment income, dividend, final withholding payment. The only income is employment income. I'm sorry, business income. Give tax free allowance 500,000. You are not entitled for a employment relief because there is no employment income. Taxable income is 7,393,533. The income tax liability first 3,360,000 balance at 24%. Give a self-assessment tax paid during the year of assessment 1920. Now the tax paid during 1920, during the year of assessment tax paid for the year of assessment 1920. 100,000 each for 4 quarters, 400,000. You see, so that is not the amount you have put it to the cash flow. Cash flow purpose you have put it to the cash payment basis. 3 quarters in 1920, 1 quarter in 1819. But for tax credit in 1920, you have to exactly work out the liability paid for 1920. 400,000. So 100,000 each. So income tax payable 1,014,444. So dividend account we are recorded as a file withholding payment. Okay. So that is a slightly difficult part, but you have to practice. I think you have to understand. I don't think there will be a question like this in the exam paper, but there may be a small minor calculation, the net wealth calculation. You might be able to, if you understand this question properly, I think you must be able to tackle in your examination paper, but it's given as a small question, right? I always used to do a difficult question in the classroom. That's my normal pattern. So otherwise what happened? Then if I do a difficult question in the classroom, I think your exam paper will be easier. That's my approach. Okay? You must do something extra in the classroom. You must be kept for any papers. If you get any of the paper, you must be able to face without any problem, right? That's the purpose of coming to the class even, right? So that's the reason I'm always used to do difficult question with the higher, with the detailed explanation. Finally, as I told you, partnership. What I'm going to discuss here is not the partnership taxation, how a partnership tax will have impact on my personal tax liability of a partner. Share of partner's profit, how do you take and how do you calculate the partner's tax liability. But nevertheless, I thought some of you would have not been studied the partnership tax under the new Inland Revenue Act. Therefore, I thought of to cover the partnership tax as well, though I have done in business level also. Quickly go through the partnership tax provisions. That is section 53. Then we'll have an impact on the individual partner with the overall sum. Okay. Section 53 is the provision governing partnership tax. As you know, partnership also under the new Inland Revenue Act is a person liable to pay income tax. But there's a dedicated section 53 deals with the partnership tax liability. It tells you a partnership shall not be liable to pay income tax with respect to its taxable income and shall not be entitled to any tax credit with respect to that income, but shall be liable to pay income tax with respect to the withholding tax. As you know, as per section 2, a person is liable to pay income tax in both tax on taxable income and tax on final withholding payment. But it says here, though partnership is a person, partnership is not liable to pay income tax on the taxable income. Therefore, you can't claim a credit. But you can pay tax only on the final withholding payment. But though you don't pay tax on the taxable income, but calculation of taxable income is applicable for the partnership, right? Keep in mind. Why? Later on you must share that income to the individual partner. For that purpose, you must calculate the taxable income. You can't ignore. However, the said provision shall not apply to a partnership to the extent that partnership's taxable income includes a gain from realization of investment asset. So if your investment asset gain is there, partnership got to pay income tax on that. At what rate? Yeah, 10%. Therefore, the partnership tax liability in overall two component I could say. What? Yeah, tax coming from the gain for realization of investment asset, that is included in your taxable income at the rate of 10% plus tax on final withholding payment. Why they want to pay tax on the capital gain only? Yeah, they want to work to the easy method of collecting the taxes is in the hands of partner. Otherwise, for partnership realize the asset, as you know, when you are getting a partner, when you get a capital gain, you must file the return within 1 month and pay tax within 1 month. Let's assume if there are 5 partners in a partnership. They realize a capital asset. Then what happens? All 5 partners must file the different 5 returns for the share of capital gain within 1 month and pay tax, share of tax. It's something. So might as well better to easily collect from the partnership. One shot, finished. So that is the reason the partnership's liability will be confined to capital gain tax. Okay? The applicable tax rate is relevant only for capital gain. What rate? Yeah, 10% rate. What is partnership income? In calculate the business income? Yeah, we'll have a business income as well as investment income. How to calculate? Yeah, based on section 6 and 7. Same thing what we have discussed. So apply for partnership tax also, plus or minus for the business income calculation. Investment income, item to be included, item to be excluded are relevant. Section 6 and 7. Suggested profit, in other words. Partnership loss is a business loss or investment loss. Again, as per the rule of calculation, where you apply the deductible expense also. Therefore, remember in short, the business income or investment income or business loss or investment loss, the deduction rule will apply. You have to work out as per Illa Revenue Act. Only difference is you don't tax the hands of partner, that's all. So important rule here, income derived and expenditure incurred in common by partners. This will apply if a partner in a partnership incurred a income, received a income or expenses by him, by common by common. Common means applicable to all the other partners in the partnership. Amount derived and expenditure incurred in common by a partners shall be treated as amount derived and expenditure incurred by the partnership and not by the individual partners. Though the individual partner receive the income in common, that is not the partner's income, partnership income. Though the individual partner incur expense in common, that is not partner's expense, it's a partnership expense. Similar approach, asset owned and liability owed in common by partner. Asset owed and liability owed in common by a partner shall be treated as assets owed or liability owned by a partnership and not by the partners. If a partner own an asset in common, that's a partnership asset. A partner owe a liability in common, that's a partnership liability, not by the individual partner's asset or liability. Therefore, on this asset, partnership may have to pay or may have to calculate the capital allowances also. Because of partnership asset. (53.7) is a very important section. You want to have an asterisk mark if you want. 53, so keep in mind the section even. It's very important. That is to say, transaction between the partnership and partners is a legal transaction or recognizable transaction or drawings. You know, as you know, we discussed a company tax the same rule, but a company and the shareholders are two different. No? Therefore, transaction between the shareholder and company and vice versa should be recognized. Legal transaction, valid transaction. But proprietorship and the individual and his proprietorship business transaction are what? Not recognizable because it's a drawing. Same person doing. In that line of thinking, partnership is a individual business of a partner. Should be a drawing, but the law says arrangement between a partnership and its partner shall be recognized. Legal valid transaction. In the instant other than the following, except for the following. So these two items not recognizable. As the recognizable items are concerned, which shall be taken into account in determining a partner share. Recognizable items are concerned. For example, partnerships pay rent to the partner. Recognized. So the partnership and that is the expenditure, partners and that should be taken as income in his share. Except for these two items. What are they? Loans made by a partner to a partnership and interest paid with respect thereto. The partner given a loan or advance to the partnership and charge interest on that. That is not expense, it's a drawing. There you have to disallow that item that become added to the partnership income. Not the individual partner's income, because it's a single drawing. Share or profit the partner's getting. Not recognized. Even the previous act, the same principle was there. Service provided by the partner to a partnership, including by way of employment, attaining service fee or income from employment with respect thereto. Same thing. Salary paid to the partner or remuneration to the partner, again drawing. The previous act, the B was there as it is, but the A is slightly different. The previous, if you can remember the wording, any interest paid on the capital only not recognized. Loan interest recognizable, but here loan interest also not recognizable. So loan interest is not recognized, but it's understood that any interest payments are not recognized, even the capital or anything. Is any all advances payment on which interests are paid are what? You can't recognize. These are not a valid transaction. Therefore, it's something similar to the drawings. Therefore, in short, if you come across this sort of payment in your partnership account, what you do? As an expenditure or as a drawing, you have to add back as a drawing due to implication of section 53(7). Okay? Allocation of partnership income, partnership loss and withholding taxes among the partners. That is our syllabus. Allocation. This is not a syllabus. All what we have done up to now is a business level. Now the corporate level. How do you allocate the partnership information among the partner for the personal taxation of individual partners? So for that 53(3), partnership income or a partnership loss of partners shall be allocated to the partners in accordance with this division. When it comes to allocation among the individual partner, you should go with this division, according to this particular division. That means what is laid down in the law, in this division, you have to apply as it is, without any variation. How to allocate the income? Partnership income or partnership loss allocated to partner shall retain its character or type of source, as to type of source. When the partnership allocate the income among the partner, character of the income and type of the income should be same. For example, when a partnership allocate the business income among the partners and that is a business, not the employment. Partners not carrying employment. You carrying out the business through a partnership. The source is nature is same. When a partnership allocate the rent income among the partner says so the source and the type is same rent. When a partnership allocate the interest among the partners and the income type is same interest income. When a partnership allocate the royalty income, the same partner stands so that's a share of the royalty income. Shall be treated as an amount derived or expenditure incurred respectively by the partner at the end of the partnership year of assessment. So at what point is allocated? We'll assume at the end of the year of assessment. Shall be allocated to the partners proportionately to each partner's share unless the Commission General by notice in writing and for good cause direct otherwise. But here, you would allocate based on the proportion of the profit. That is basically based on the profit and loss P&L ratio. Profit and loss ratio. Unless Commission General direct otherwise. Why? If we feel that the allocations are not justifiable, so tax avoidance, Commissioner can reject the real allocation and go with, he can give a new allocation method. There was a dispute in allocation when it comes to Daud Boy was a Commissioner of Income Tax. No, that is a notional allocation. The rule, the same principle I brought up here. In the sense, Commissioner can reject the allocation method. If you want to allocate anybody, if you want to share the profit among them, so many partners, you can put some partners only to the name. By instant substance, there is no partnership. He is not involved in the partnership affairs. But for a name, you are bringing so many partners just to allocate among the so many individuals, so that everybody can get a benefit of tax benefit of tax threshold and the tax free allowance. Then the Commissioner can reject that sort of a arrangement even, saying that it's an arrangement, you can't allocate on that basis, allocate on this revised basis. Okay. Finally, allocation of partnership tax paid. That is, there is no tax paid by the partnership. If you are withholding tax paid by the partnership, what will happen? You will allocate again based on the profit sharing ratio. It's very important thing. Keep a note on that. The exam might test on this. Without a tax allocation of partnership income. That means background of this is, as you know, under the previous act. Present that there is no tax liability of partnership, no, on the business income or anything. Only you prepare the taxable income and share among the partner. But the previous act, there was a liability. The partnership may have to pay a nominal tax rate of 8% on the divisible profit. That include business income as well, mainly 8% by filing the return. So when you come to this, under the new act, the liability of 8% is sacrificed by the government. So in order to introduce similar liability, how they are introduced is not as a tax liability to the partnership, as a withholding tax. When a partnership share the income among the partners, the time of allocation, on the allocation profit, you withhold 8% withholding tax and remit to the Department of Inland Revenue. So that we call withholding tax on allocation of partnership income among the partners. The 53 subsection 3. The section to withhold the tax is section 84. If you go to section 84, withholding tax on investment income, one of the component is the partnership tax allocation. So the rate is 8% rate. The 53.3 says how the base of allocation. The president partner, or in the absence of such partner in Sri Lanka, an agent of partnership in Sri Lanka. Mainly the president partner. The definition is given for president partner under 95 interpretation section, I believe. Oh, yes, the under interpretation section. The president partner shall withhold tax in accordance with the section 84 at the rate of 8% in paragraph 10 of the first schedule on each partner share of any partnership income on the relevant partnership. Yeah. If you're going to allocate 1 million, you are deduct 8% tax on that and remit to the Department of Inland Revenue, right? So that is a partnership provision. I have dealt in partnership provisions as well as allocation provision also. But remember, in your examination, I believe the question will be tested allocation rule only. But in case the test of the partnership profit also, I think you should know how to work out, because I have done the entire part. So what do you do now? We go to the last sum, the question 4. Can you go to question 4, please? I give about 2-3 minutes. Can you go through the question, please? Shall I go through? ABC Engineering Company is a partnership business carried on between Anthony and David, two brothers. They are engaged in the manufacturing of household appliances using patent rights of a Singaporean company. So they say they are doing a manufacturing business to form a partnership. Profits and losses are shared equally. During the year ended 31st March 2020, the profit and loss account in disclose a net profit of 38,580,720 are deducting the following expenses. It's accounting profit are deducting the following expenses. Salary paid to Anthony, salary paid to David. But we do, these expenses are not recognizable. We have to add back under section 53 subsection 7. So 1,200,000 and 1 million rupees. Salary paid to wife of Anthony may be allowable, especially incurred in the production of income, but later on, under section 34, subsection 4, add back to Anthony's personal income. In case if the partnership, that partner's income to be worked out, tax should be worked out. Royalty paid to the Singaporean company, 2,800,000, generally allowable. Commission paid to the broker, the partnership affairs, allowable. The partnership has failed to deduct relevant withholding tax in relation to the payment of royalties. So though the 2.8 million are generally allowable, but now you can't claim. Why? Under section 10, subsection 2, we discussed so many times. If a relevant withholding tax has not been deducted and remitted to the tax department, then what 11? The all expenses are not allowable for tax purposes. This section 10, subsection 2. So add back 2,800,000. During the year, the partnership has earned interest income a net of 1,710,000. Interest income is included in the net profit. So remove, because that is the investment income. Said net profit includes a profit of 10 million from the disposal of land. Capital gain, land disposal profit, you remove. It's not a business. Partnership disposed on 15 September 2019. It's bare land held as a part of investment property for a sum of 25,650,000. The property was acquired by the partnership in July 2014 for 15,650,000. So consider receive 25,650,000, but actual cost you don't take. Why? Because this investment property was held as a 30th September 2017. You must take the market value as at that date. Partnership paid commission of 750,000 to a broker who introduced the buyer. So the broker what has been charged to the P&L account 750,000 is this commission. So they have this commission expense are not due to the business of partnership, business activity. Therefore you have to add back against the business profit calculation, claim against the capital gain calculation. As per the valuation made in September 2017, market value of the property as of 30th September 2017 was 21,500,000. That is a deductible against the capital gain calculation. Requirement. A. Assess the taxable income and income tax payable by the partnership for the year of 1890. Taxable income calculation. What is the first part? Yeah, work out the question 4. Look at the answer. First, business income. 13,580,720, that is in last page. Salary paid to the partner, added back under 53.7 to altogether 2.7 million. Royalty paid, the salary paid to Anthony's wife, allowable as a deduction because incurred in the production of income under section 11. Royalty paid not allowed because of section 10 subsection 2 because no withholding tax has been deducted, add back 2.8 billion. Commission paid, add back because it's not related to the business activity, 750,000. Interest income you remove, you have to bring it as investment income. Profit on sale of land, accounting profit on capital gain, accounting profit on the sale of land you remove. So the business income comes to 33,120,720. What is the investment income? Only we have gain from realization investment asset. Consider received 25,650,000 less expenses. Market value as of 30th September 2017, 21,500,000. Because of that, you can claim the actual purchase expenses. Commission paid, that's incidental expense at the time of sale. 750,000. So the capital gain comes to 33,400,000. Then taxable income comprises only these two. Business income 33,120,000. Investment income, capital gain 3,400,000. So 36,520,720. Why? Interest income we don't take because that is a final withholding payment for the individual partners. Income tax payable by the partnership. Is it liable on business income? No. According to section 53, they are liable to pay income tax only on the investment income comprised of capital gain only. So I work out the tax on the capital gain 3.4 million at 10%, 340,000. Part B, assess the distribution of income among the partner. What is the distribution of income? Only business income 33,120,720. How do you distribute? Equally subject to adjustment section 53(7). By now you already distributed some amount of profit as a salary. Salary paid to 1.2 million, 1 million. The balance you must divide on the profit sharing ratio. That's why I say distribution should be in line with the profit sharing ratio subject to 53(7). See? For the purpose of this section, subject to section 53(7), a partner share shall be equal to the partnership percentage interest in the income of the partner. So subject to 53(7), that should be taken into account. That is a part of the profit that has already been distributed. Capital gain I have not distributed because there is already we have paid tax on that. For accounting purpose you can distribute, but tax purpose there is no distribution required. No. Part C, withholding tax payable by the partnership on the distribution. So on the distribution, Anthony 60,660,360 at 8%. David 60,460,360 at 8%. So total withholding tax payable at the time of distribution by the partnership. We have to work out only on the income tax payable by Anthony for the year of investment 19, only one partner. If they ask you for two partners, both partners, we could do it on a column wise. But here only one partner, very simple. But business income, the nature, the same nature. Partner share of income 60,660,360. Wife's salary, his wife worked, so they have added to that relevant husband's and under 34 subsection 4, 240,000. Investment income, gain from realization investment asset, not taxable because already partnership has paid tax on that. Interest income is a final withholding payment. Give tax-free allowance of 500,000. Taxable income comes to 60,400,360,000. Income tax payable on taxable income up to 3,360,000, balance at 24%. So work out, the total comes to 3,576,086. Tax credit. What is the tax credit? Main tax credit. Withholding tax paid by the partnership on the share of profit allocation. Anthony, 1,332,829. You get a tax credit. Then you work out the balance tax payable. So that shows what? They have about 8% tax paid by the partnership as withholding tax, not a cost to the individual partner. Why? Individual partner can reclaim that amount against their personal income tax liability. Okay. So with that, I think the partnership part is also over. I think we are done in detail, I believe, the individual taxation also. Last week and previous days we discussed the corporate tax. Now we are done the individual tax. Therefore basically tax calculation part is over by now. We got to work out now theoretical notes like payment of tax, administration provision, etc. on the income tax part. So as I told you last week, so please go through during these days whatever the things that I discussed in detail with the support of the Illa Revenue Act. Go through that. I think you might be now familiar with the Illa Revenue Act. For almost more than 1 month, almost 2 months you are at home. You are now familiar with the Illa Revenue Act. So So then what will happen is we go through in detail and get familiar with the provision what we have done already, right? We hope that we will meet soon. I think this will be relaxed in a recent period, I believe. So we hope that we will meet again. Good luck. Okay. See you. Thank you.